morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. So I'm joined here by Mrs. Niza Banda, country manager for ACRE Africa. Um, and today we thought that would sit down and talk about the world of microinsurance. As most of you are aware, um, Insurance Week is upon us, and we thought it was important to raise awareness with regards to this particular niche area of insurance. I call it niche because most people have not really heard about microinsurance, but in all intents and purposes, and I'm sure Niza will elaborate more, it's just insurance in smaller bite-sized premiums. Essentially, that's what it is. So no, thank you for joining us in this interview. And yeah, we want this to be as interactive as possible, and feel free to share as much as you can on this particular topic.
Okay.
Yeah. So to kick it off, maybe you can just provide a brief introduction about yourself, what you have done, or what has got you to the point where you're now the country manager of ACRE Africa.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. And this is a job well done to Tim Greelix on taking on this path. I think it is very important that people are well informed with what options or types of insurance are available out there, especially with the coming of Insurance Week, like you have mentioned. So a little about myself, like you have said, my name is Niza Banda, and I have worked in the insurance industry for about 9 years now. So I started off working in life and health insurance and general insurance as well. And I think general insurance most piqued my interest. I'm a person who loves to solve problems. So I think interactions with clients was always very intriguing for me, whether it's me finding them a solution within our product offering or me being able to just process a claim in a timely fashion and being able to solve a problem. I think that was always at the key of what I was intrigued by. And then one thing I think that one of my managers once told me was the importance of finding your niche, like you have mentioned.
Yeah.
And that always stuck at the back of my mind. How do I find my niche in an environment that's very general? And as at 4 years ago actually, one underwriter reached out to me. They were looking for someone with some statistical background to support their microinsurance product. And I think I was taken aback because until then, I had not met any insurance company that had successfully rolled out a microinsurance company. I'd worked with other insurance companies who had tried to, but it was all in ideation phase. Then I joined Mayfair Insurance, and I was really amazed at how the whole process was working and how they were able to bring together insurance products to serve smallholder farmers. And for me, I think that spoke to who I am as a person in terms of looking to work with marginalized communities and being able to be a problem solver for the masses. So for me, impact was key and problem solving was key. So as at 4 years ago, since 2019, I've been working in the microinsurance space and mainly providing solutions for smallholder farmers. So this obviously runs all the way from developing products that speak to their needs. And I think one thing that is very critical in that space has been understanding what the actual needs of the customer are, as opposed to sitting at my desk and thinking this is what they need when actually what they need is something else. So yeah, in a nutshell, that has what my background has been. So entirely insurance, and most recently microinsurance, which I feel I finally found my feet in this space.
Okay, no, that's excellent. You mentioned something about, so Mayfair basically, before there are challenges in penetrating the microinsurance space, or maybe producing products that are important or that meet the needs of small scale farmers. So what did Mayfair do you feel that was different compared to the past? How were they able to succeed where others failed?
Okay. So in my time working in this space, I've come to realize that there's certain critical components for you to be successful in microinsurance. And number one being, first of all, finding the numbers. So I think one component that made Mayfair successful was in working on large schemes. So large schemes, obviously, yes, as a statistician, and the law of large numbers will make you win. So working on large schemes such as the Farmer Input Support Program, which started as a pilot but grew to supporting over 1 million farmers across the country. That is one scheme, I believe, made Mayfair successful in the microinsurance space.
Okay.
So working with an aggregator who already is working with the farmers that you need to work with is very critical in ensuring success in microinsurance. And obviously, when you have a large scheme of that magnitude, you also have your geographical diversification. So that also helps with spreading your risk portfolio.
Okay.
And generally, that also helps with keeping your risks at a manageable rate, if you may. In addition to that, having the appropriate reinsurance support. I think reinsurance has been something that is very critical in the microinsurance space, because then they provide the capacity to the local underwriters who may be having challenges in taking on large risks.
Okay.
And in addition to that, collaboration. I feel like I should have actually started with collaboration, because I feel collaboration is very key. So collaboration has been working with government entities such as the Ministry of Agriculture, who obviously provide you with the platform and they provide you with the access to the smallholder farmers. Collaboration with non-governmental organizations. I think there are a lot of non-governmental organizations, especially in the times that we're living in, with climate change being a hazard across the world over, really.
Yeah.
You find that a lot of non-governmental organizations or development agencies are really pushing a lot of knowledge in that space.
Okay.
And also bundling of insurance with other services.
Okay.
So I always say a smallholder farmer is looking to enhance their productivity. I mean, in all the work that we do, we're all looking to how can we be better from where we are today, how can we be better tomorrow? So in a smallholder farmer's context, I'm looking for two things. I'm looking for hybrid seed that will improve my outputs.
Yeah.
And I'm also looking for financing that can allow me to access that hybrid seed. So insurance typically isn't something that people go looking for on the street.
Yeah.
Even in Zambia, it took a statutory instrument to be put in place for everyone to take even the most minimum motor vehicle insurance, right?
Yes.
So a farmer is looking for those two things, and bundling of insurance with those services that the farmer desperately seeks is what makes insurance viable and makes it accessible to as many farmers as possible.
Okay, no, very interesting. And you mentioned something very important, the collaboration and cooperation aspect. Most, for all intents and purposes, most insurance companies that work within Zambia are competitors. Have you found, sort of working in the micro insurance space, you're getting more buy-in from insurance companies, or getting more insurance companies actually working together? Because I guess there's a greater good, because they are targeting smallholder farmers. And then B, product is your niche, right? And I think, as you alluded to, motor is basically a saturated market here in Zambia. So is the collaboration being driven by the fact that it's giving insurers potential different avenues to get additional revenue?
I would say the collaboration is key, especially in the aspect of risk pooling. Especially on the national schemes, I think what I have seen also is the insurance companies are collaborating because, first of all, there's enough pie to go around. So, like I mentioned, on the Farmer Input Support Program, you have 1 million plus farmers.
Yeah.
The premium on that is 200 kwacha by 1 million plus farmers.
Yeah.
Right, the math went away from me there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a large pool to share from. So you need to find reinsurance capacity. Sometimes when you're doing it on your own, it may be difficult to find the reinsurance capacity on your own. And I think this has necessitated collaboration and formation of consortiums. And you see it even in other countries. I think most recently with ACRE Africa, a consortium of insurers came together in Tanzania to provide index-based livestock insurance in that market.
Yeah.
With collaboration, I think it also helps you leverage off each other's strengths, split your budgets, or rather share a lot of budgets. I will tell you, microinsurance is labor intensive. It requires a lot of sensitization.
Okay.
It requires a lot of data input, and you need to pull all your resources together to be able to bring that together. So whether it's you as a consortium applying for grant funding, it always makes a stronger case when when people are seen to be collaborating, I believe, and also just being able to drive those sensitization programs is also cost intensive, like I mentioned.
Yes.
So, for example, on the national scheme, once the policy has been issued, there is always need for going into the villages, making sure the farmers are aware what this product is and how it works.
Yeah.
Obviously, the model that most insurance companies will work with is the training of trainers, but even that costs quite a bit of money.
Okay.
So if the insurance companies are collaborating, it definitely lessens the burden on an individual having to take that on their own. So
Okay.
I do believe, quite right, they're competitors,
Yeah.
but on schemes such as micro insurance, collaboration is very key, even if you're competing with each other.
Okay. Very interesting. So tell me about ACRE Africa, right? I believe, yeah, as I said, country manager there. What is different in this current role that you have compared to what you're doing at, say, Mayfair and underwriting insurance? I just want to understand the full sort of end-to-end process, right? You identify these farmers, they have a need. Then do you send your team to go and sensitize, ask them questions before you develop a product and before you collect the data? I just want to know how.
Okay. Well, I should have actually led with that.
Yeah.
So ACRE Africa is actually agriculture and climate risk enterprise. So ACRE Africa was born out of a project by the Syngenta Foundation for Sustainable Agriculture.
Okay.
And the project that started was called Kilimo Salama. So it was an input replacement program that was necessitated from the understanding that most smallholder farmers were facing losses as a result of climate change. So smallholder farmers would plant their seed, and there could be a severe drought that caused them to lose everything. And some of them, that's the only money that they have for that particular season. So the input replacement program then was an insurance policy where they would enroll into the insurance program and pay for the insurance and then receive replacement inputs that will allow them to plant later in the season and early maturing seed and ultimately secure what they've lost. So as ACRE Africa, I think from that project that was very successful and insured a couple thousand farmers in Kenya, we have then expanded to different parts of Africa, providing the same services, so which is your product development. So product development in your climate risk insurance products. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with weather index insurance product, area yield index, your soil moisture index. So our role as ACRE Africa, first of all, not an insurer. I think I always get that from people. We're not an insurance company. We're an insurance intermediary in addition to being a product development company.
Okay.
So we work as a middleman in that we develop products for the insurance company. Then once the insurance company has those approved by the regulator and they have a go-ahead to go with those products, before that, we have focus group discussions with smallholder farmers. I think, like I mentioned earlier, critical to our process is inclusion of the end user in our development process. So you have discussions with the smallholder farmer, get an understanding. What are your major pain points? How can we address these pain points? Would an insurance product of this structure be attractive to you? You know, those kinds of questions.
Yeah.
And once we have that input from the smallholder farmer and understand what their critical pain points are, then we develop the product, have it approved through the underwriter, and then after that, we then identify the aggregator. So sometimes the aggregator is identified before or after, but typically it will be identified before.
Okay.
So you already have a group of farmers that you're serving with that product, and it's easy for them to adopt it because they already understand what it's addressing in terms of their needs.
Okay.
And like I mentioned earlier, it will typically be linked to access to credit or access to good quality inputs that will allow them to enhance their productivity. So once the placement is done, there's always need for sensitization, and the sensitization is at two levels. So there is the training of trainers. So in the structure that we work with, there is deep understanding that a smallholder farmer will not trust an outsider.
Okay.
Yeah, I go there in my suit and they're like, "You've come to steal money from us." So it's very imperative that we work with existing structures in these communities, and these will be your camp extension officers. So the Ministry of Agriculture has camp extension officers in the different districts of the country.
Okay.
And I think a lot of entities working with smallholder farmers will use that as a support. And we
Okay.
also do not like to reinvent the wheel. We work with what is existing. So we work with the camp extension officers to provide sensitization services, make it as simple as possible, deliver it in local language. I should share some videos with you of me speaking different local languages and teaching farmers
Yeah.
about insurance. So it's
Okay.
done at two levels: the training of trainers and also direct sensitization with the smallholder farmers.
Okay.
Just to make sure they fully understand what this is, and we make it as simple as possible.
Okay, so then for the benefit of those who don't know what weather index insures, and just from a layman perspective, how would you explain it to an individual so that they understand what it is and how it works? When do they get their claim payout?
Okay. So weather index insurance is a parametric insurance product, and it is developed based off of an index. So like I mentioned earlier, a farmer will have a particular pain point. And with climate change, the major pain point is little rainfall or excessive rainfall.
Okay.
So the index can be set up in such a way that it's addressing deviations from what is considered normal rainfall.
Okay.
So it could be a drought situation or an excess rainfall situation. Either situation will result in the loss of yield for a smallholder farmer. So the index can be designed in different ways. Like I mentioned, it could be rainfall, it could be humidity, it could be temperature, but the most common is rainfall. And deviations from that rainfall, much like if, say, I have a motor vehicle and I'm driving this motor vehicle, if I have a scratch or if I lose a side mirror, the magnitude of the loss increases depending on the severity of the situation, right?
Yes.
So the same way with rainfall. How far we deviate from what is considered normal also dictates how much of a payout the farmer is able to receive.
Okay.
So the monitoring of these indices is done remotely, and this is largely to make sure that the cost of the product is affordable.
Okay.
Your traditional agriculture insurance requires you to do at least 3 field visits. So at the start of the season, you have to go and check if the field is okay once they plant, mid-season, and at the end of the season. So now imagine, it may be easy for me to reach a commercial farmer in Kabwe, but there's a smallholder farmer in the deep outskirts of Ngabwe. And as an insurance company or insurance companies will need to factor in that cost in their pricing.
Okay.
Which is why remote monitoring is the way to go. It's more affordable for everyone involved and also makes the products more financially inclusive, because then the farmers are able to access the products at an affordable cost. So remote monitoring by use of satellites is how we monitor the rainfall that the farmers are receiving.
Okay.
And also why also the sensitization is very, very critical to explain to them.
Okay. So no, that's a very interesting aspect. I think now we'll probably touch on technology. So in particular remote monitoring aspect. So how does it work for ACRE Africa? Apart from satellites, what other technology have you used? I guess you develop a product and you hand it over to an insurance company. But I don't anticipate an insurance company has invested in remote monitoring from the satellites, but maybe correct me if I'm wrong. What other key technology is important to make sure this particular product actually works efficiently?
Okay, so our process as ACRE, apart from product development and obviously providing the product to the insurance companies, doesn't end at just provision of the product. So we are also invested in the monitoring of the performance of the product and the payout calculation on behalf of the insurance company. I always say we're like an outsourced department within the insurance company.
Okay.
So quite right, we work with multiple insurance companies, but we're like an outsourced department, much like Grelix,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes. So we offer a full service from product development all the way to payout calculation.
Okay.
So that is done by the actuaries on our team who do the pricing and the payout calculation and the monitoring. And we provide periodic monitoring reports. And we make it a point to make sure that we explain these monitoring reports to the underwriter so that they have ease with explaining to their clients. And if need be, sometimes we come in ourselves and explain the reports or even the term sheets or the pricing sheets to the client wherever need arises.
Okay.
So in addition to the use of satellites and remote sensing for us to monitor the products that we develop, we also leverage off the use of digital technology, and digital technology being your cell phones.
Okay.
So we use cell phones to support the entire process. So this is registration of a farmer. I'll give an example of one program that we were working on. Farmers were paying a portion of the premium themselves, and the aggregator was subsidizing the larger chunk. But the portion of the premium that the farmer was paying for, they paid using mobile money.
Okay.
And that mobile money platform was also used to collect KYC information.
Okay.
And in the KYC information, obviously you have your name, your gender, and most critical to us is your location.
Okay.
So they put in the location because then that will help us be able to monitor where they are actually located and have the appropriate monitoring results at the end of the season. And then they would pay using mobile money into the wallet of the insurance company.
Okay.
So after that process, the same mobile phones are also used to send any messaging throughout the season about how the season is going. Season information mostly. And then at the end of the season, they receive their payouts. Of course, these payouts are not sent without validation. So the validation is done by their representative. So we take them through, and then when we're all in agreement that truly this is reflective of what was happening on the ground, then payouts are issued to the smallholder farmers.
Okay.
But of course, the structure of these is different depending on the preference of the aggregator of who is representing them. Some will say it should be issued as vouchers. For example, with an input company that we were working with, the payouts were issued as vouchers.
Okay.
So that the farmer could then go and access more inputs. And in other cases, it's cash in their mobile money wallets.
Okay.
But that at least helps us have a way to reach the smallholder farmer, even if we're not in direct contact with them every day. And also makes it affordable.
These payouts, like you said, it's only payable if it deviates from the index that you've set from the time that they've purchased this particular policy, right? It's not every year you're getting a payout.
No, it's not every year. Only when there's a deviation.
Only when there's a deviation.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So there are some instances where it's every year. With climate change, the disasters are back to back, but I always say, even for the underwriter, it's important to have a long-term relationship with the client, because yes, there will be some really bad years, and other years will be good years, and you'll be able to make profit as an underwriter. But yes, the payouts only come in when there's a deviation.
Okay.
Of course, you will have. In the past, I think we had some basis risk issues. So basis risk is a deviation from what the index is reporting and what the farmers are saying they're experiencing on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And we would need to then have interventions that would go in and then assess, okay, these farmers are saying they had losses, but the index didn't give us this report. And if we go on the ground and we realize that truly that's what was happening, would then need to take it up a notch in terms of recalculating the payouts, or just revising the way the index is developed.
Okay.
So previously we had a 10 by 10 monitoring. The areas we're monitoring were 10 by 10 kilometers.
Okay.
And we realized that there were some issues around microclimates in areas. So we'll be saying in Kablonga, it's raining, but it's not all parts of Kablonga that are raining.
Okay.
So 10 by 10 was too big to monitor.
Okay.
So we had to reduce it to 4 by 4. And I think those issues necessitated the development of the technical working group of the Ministry of Agriculture, which we are privileged to sit on. So this technical working group assesses index insurance products. So reviewing what the product has been structured like, is it responding to the needs of the farmers? So one process that we went through was we got feedback from all 10 provinces on the performance of the current index. I think the index at the time was set more as a drought product, but they said not all of us are facing drought. Some of us are facing excess rainfall events.
Okay.
So that information helped us then put together, or rather divide the country into the agroecological zones. Okay. So the agroecological zones have different performances. So you find that the northern region of the country is more excess rainfall prone, and the southern region is more drought prone, and the middle region is 50-50. So we then had to incorporate that in the development of our products to make sure that they're reflective of what the people actually are going through. So there's a lot of consistent consultation, and I think we're finding at a place where we can confidently say that our products are reflective of what farmers do go through. Because even when you get to need to do field visits, you will find that truly what the index is reporting is reflective of what the farmers are going through.
So it's essentially, it would be very difficult to effectively manage this product without technology, right?
Pardon?
It would be very difficult to effectively manage this product without technology. So
yes,
from the
it would
policy
be extremely
admin
expensive.
to claims,
it would be yes, technology is key. I remember I was in Malawi not too long ago for a conference, and I think there was a tagline about digitize or perish.
Very
strong.
Yes.
But I thought it was very relevant.
Okay.
I think you see it even with the use of mobile money.
Mhm.
I think when it initially came, I think everybody was a bit of a skeptic. But then over time, everybody has been able to realize that mobile money offers people the convenience. I always say it's more expensive than the bank, actually, but
Yes.
because it's providing convenience, you see that people are willing to pay for convenience. So use of digital platforms is very critical for expansion, even for insurance services. So for us to be able to provide end-to-end services using mobile phones, or having reps who are able to use their mobile phones to onboard farmers, is a very critical component for our service delivery. And in Kenya, we've taken it up a notch. I think we had what we call the picture-based index insurance.
Picture-based,
Yes. So the picture-based index insurance, obviously this one would require you to have a smartphone that has a camera and upload pictures onto a platform. But that service allows for us to monitor the growth of the crop, first of all, from the periodical pictures that the farmer takes, and also be able to offer advisory services. Advisory services, we can easily tell you your crop is looking like it needs more urea or it needs more decompound, whatever the case may be. It provides an interactive platform between us and the farmer when they're able to receive that kind of personalized service, because they've provided pictures of their crop. So it's a really good it's a really good product, and hopefully we will be able to bring it to Zambia as well. Obviously, Kenya has a bit more mobile penetration than we have here, but not all hope is lost. I think we can also have it here. And lastly, we also use blockchain technology to also just support payment of premiums and payout of claims.
And again, for a layman, what is blockchain technology?
So to put it simply, it's just an automated service that allows for instant payment of first of all, instant payment of premiums, and also once there is a trigger, some technology is informed to say you need to make X payouts, and it allows for faster claims payouts for farmers to receive instant payouts. So once there's a trigger, a farmer is able to receive their payouts immediately. I think that's simply.
That's simple.
Yes.
So I've also got a list of questions. I want to make sure that I get through them just to give everyone the value from this interaction. So you spoke about government authorities. So I think you just want to touch a bit more on that. How do you work with government agencies and bodies to show them about the effectiveness of microinsurance products? What was the journey like? Did the Ministry of Agriculture approach you and ask you to design the product, or was it the other way around? You built products and then went and pitched to the ministry on the importance of these particular products?
I couldn't tell you what happened in terms of who came to who, but I believe the government providing a subsidy on the farmer input support program obviously signifies that there's an investment that the government has made that they need to protect and ensure that the smallholder farmers that they're supporting are able to get the value out of the subsidy being provided for them. I think the domino effect is when farmers are protected, they then are not really depending too much on any additional support. They're able to be self-sustaining, if you may. So given that there have been a number of droughts, at some point I think it was every 3 years there were some drastic droughts. Everyone, the farmer inclusive, could see that apart from interventions like conservation agriculture or practicing good agricultural practices, which a lot of farmers are now being trained in, and a component of the work that we do as well, it was critical to bring in some other risk mitigation strategies. So the government, as such, on the Farmer Input Support Program, saw the relevance and the importance to incorporate an insurance product that would reimburse farmers who suffer a loss owing to their inputs being lost because of climate change.
Okay.
And the main perils that are covered are your pest diseases, drought, excess rainfall, and other components.
Okay.
So the product has gone in several refining processes, like I mentioned earlier, through the technical working group. And I think they've been able to see the value because they've had it since 2017. So you can see that there has been a use case that has been proven.
Yes.
And they do see the value of what insurance does to help mitigate the risk that the smallholder farmers face.
Okay.
And I understand the Farmer Input Support Program is moving into a new phase where it will be more loans given to farmers. I think this is now also just moving away from just giving subsidies to not just giving assistance that is repayable. And with such a situation, you find that most smallholder farmers don't have a credit reference. They don't have a credit scoring of sort. Insurance then comes in to provide that cushion, even for those who are lending. I'm not familiar what the structure will be like of that program yet, but if, say, they're using MFIs, the MFIs need to be comfortable to lend to these people and say, if anything happens, we'll be able to get our money back, right?
Yeah.
So insurance also provides that cushion for the microfinance institutions or the banks who would be engaged on this program to help mitigate that risk. Because then if there are droughts or excess rainfall events or pests and diseases that are affecting these farmers, they'll be able to recover what it is that they've lost.
Okay.
And I think we work both at the Ministry of Agriculture and also I've had some experience working in the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock. There are also index products for cattle as well that are similarly structured around drought.
Okay. So in other regions that ACRE Africa works in, do you feel maybe regulatory or lack of regulatory frameworks has impacted the ability for you to provide this product to the masses? So, for example, if there was no regulation around that, if there was no statutory instrument, would you find that the smallholder farmers would find it difficult to understand the importance of your product?
Yes. I think, like I mentioned earlier, smallholder farmers, I think, or generally marginalized communities are more trusting of government structures or government entities, which is why it is always very important for us to work with the government, both with dissemination of information and also providing access to these products. So we've been very privileged as a country that I think our government is very forward thinking in that regard and has embraced insurers as a component of what they're providing to the farmers, which makes it easier for us to also sell the product. So yes, in other countries where there is no regulatory support, it can be quite difficult. Again, this type of insurance is largely a game of numbers. It's largely how can we access many farmers? How can we access farmers in various geographical locations at an affordable rate? So if those structures are not there to support that, it becomes extremely expensive to provide that. Yes, there are development agencies who support these programs, but largely the government support is very critical. Like I said, I think Zambia has even taken up a space where there's microinsurance regulation now that helps us operate as aggregators or representatives of aggregators in a better way and be able to serve smallholder farmers even more efficiently.
Okay, that's interesting. One thing you mentioned is it's a game of numbers, and you want more to be able to capture more smallholder farmers. So that's obviously there's a data element, right? And assuming you collate large volumes of data, what are the key challenges with that? Also, given the Data Protection Act that has come through, what do you think are the key challenges of rolling out this product? And then there's a potential that the Data Protection Act may be working against what you're trying to do. What would you say are the challenges in that?
Okay, so obviously collecting large sums of data can be quite challenging, like you have said, which is why working with aggregators is always very critical. However, even in working with aggregators and in line with the Data Protection Act, it's always very important that the aggregator who is collecting information is very open with the client what their data will be used for. So, for example, if I, as a smallholder farmer, walk into an MFI to apply for a loan, it's important that that person is able to explain to me that beyond just KYC for the loan, this information will also be used for your insurance, and I need to consent, and make sure that it's being used for what it's said to be used for. In terms of data, it can be challenging for an entity such as ourselves in with regards to in an event where the aggregator is not there. I think we consistently have discussions around what happens if the aggregator is not there. How do we reach the farmer effectively? I think I mentioned earlier how the bundling of insurance is what really makes it sell. I'm accessing inputs, I have insurance. I access credit, I have insurance. But insurance on its own sometimes is not the easiest sell for anyone. Nobody really is going out looking for insurance, which is where the access to that data may become challenging. But currently, so far, I think what has been critical is ensuring that from the onset, when somebody is being onboarded on a program that is linked to insurance, they are also informed what else their data will be used for apart from the particular service that they're accessing.
Okay.
So that sort of helps us overcome that hurdle, if you may.
Okay. Okay. So second last question. What's the future? What do you think the future outlook and goals are? So the future goals and plans for ACRE Africa regarding innovation, sustainability, and collaboration with the insurance and industry to the benefit of the farmers.
Okay. In terms of innovation, I think to continue streamlining or improving the products that we have, I think critical to our operations is having end-to-end solutions that are accessible to everyone, everywhere, and leveraging off of existing programs that are already supporting smallholder farmers. And when you speak to sustainability and collaboration, from where I'm standing, sustainability speaks most to collaborations. So working with the government, working with development agencies, and all like-minded agriculture value chain players whose core mission is to enhance the activities of the smallholder farmer. I think collaboration is very key to further advance the work that we do. Obviously, building the capacity of the insurance companies is also key, and also having more sensitization activities. Like you mentioned, Insurance Week, it's important for more information around what products and services are available out there. Insurance penetration in Zambia is still relatively low, so we constantly have to look for ways, how can we make it more accessible to more people? Influencing policy around national schemes that will allow more people to be able to access some of these products and services. So in a nutshell, when you speak to innovation, sustainability, and what the future looks like, there is definitely a lot of room for collaboration and building of more innovative products that support development of products from start to finish.
Okay. Another question, whilst you're talking about, sensitization and low penetration, from the research that we've done and the surveys we've carried out, we find that most people in the general public don't feel they're getting their value for money from insurance products. A lot of them feel that, when it comes time to make a claim, they have to go through so many hurdles for that claim payment to actually be made. How do you think that is different from a microinsurance perspective? Just purely because microinsurance, you're looking after people who may not be as well off as the middle to upper class. How do you ensure you balance the fact that they're in need of this claim amount against the fact that you also, or the insurance company also needs to make profit?
I once saw a quote by someone on LinkedIn that really moved me. It said, microinsurance is a business of the heart. So I think at the heart, at the core of everything that we do in this space, I think we are all aligned in the fact that we need to make sure that it pays when it needs to pay. I think the aspect of it that it's monitored remotely already gives room for someone to doubt it. So there's a huge push in all the players in this space to make sure that it pays when it needs to pay, and obviously it doesn't pay when it doesn't need to pay. So the collaboration aspect has been very big in pushing that. Remember when I spoke about insurance companies collaborating and working in consortiums?
Yes.
Helps to pull your resources together for you to be able to lower the cost of you being able to provide these services. And also reinsurance capacity is also something that is very important to make sure that when you place your risks, I know most insurance companies will place a chunk of it, more than 90% will be placed in reinsurance, and they just they retain very little. So in trying to prove that microinsurance works, from my interactions with various players in this space, I believe a lot of the players are trying to make sure that we gain the trust that we so desperately need.
Okay.
Given that insurance has had a bad misconception, there are a lot of misconceptions around insurance. And of course, I know people have experienced situations where a claim is payable and they have not received their payout. But owing to the processes that we go through, you can see that there's a lot of push on our end to make sure that this thing pays when it pays, when it needs to pay. Which is why even when we have done our monitoring as ACRE Africa, it has several levels of validation. So it will go to the insurance company, who then shares it with the client. For example, a client such as the Ministry of Agriculture will send it to their district offices.
Okay.
And the district offices have to give an okay to say, yes, this is reflective of what we've gone through. Truly, there was no rain, or truly there was enough rain and we don't need a payout.
Yeah.
And then we come back to the table, have a discussion. If there's next level need for us to go into the field and do to check what's really happening, what's happening on the ground, that also comes in. So you can see that everyone in this space is aligned in making sure that we prove that it works. Especially when we're trying to reach masses,
Yes.
you need to prove that it pays when it needs to pay, especially that it's remotely monitored. So for us to gain trust in our technology, we need to make sure that the technology is speaking the language of the people on the ground.
Okay. One question, because I'm thinking technology data. So obviously you've collected data in terms of the pricing and understanding worst case scenario, this particular area, the maximum amount of rainfall would be X amount, or the minimum would be this amount. Based on your analysis and permutations, what do you think would be like the worst ever payout event for a microinsurance product here within Zambia? And has this happened in the past? Has there been a situation where, if you actually had microinsurance product, it would have wiped out the balance sheet for most insurance companies?
Yes. Funny you ask. There was a year that one of the policies that I was managing when I was with the underwriter, where the loss ratio was 300%.
Wow.
That's the worst I've seen. Yes. But remember, I spoke about long-term relationship.
Yes.
So there are good years and there are bad years. And geographical diversification is also very key. Most of these microinsurance policies will start as a pilot first. So a pilot is almost guaranteed that you will have a hit. Okay. Most pilots start from Southern Province. Southern Province is a drought-prone area. Okay. So you're almost guaranteed you have a drought there. Okay. So to start from there, but always have the long-term plan to say we need to expand this beyond that pilot to various regions of the country, which is then where you'll be able to make your money as insurance entities. Okay. So I always say there needs to always be it always needs to be attached to a long-term vision. Okay. Because yes, there will definitely be really bad years that can wipe out your book, like you've said. Yeah. But of course, reinsurance has really provided the necessary support. Okay. And of course, even the reinsurers will have their panel of retrocessors from all over the world who also support and provide that cushion that the insurance companies need. Okay. So yes. Okay. No, thank you very much. I don't know if you've got any last remarks you want to share. Maybe people who are aspiring to come into the microinsurance space, any advice you can give them as they are considering this journey? Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think if you're a person like me who loves to solve problems and is looking to be impactful in your work by reaching the masses at the time, microinsurance is definitely a good space to work in.
Mhm.
There are a lot of opportunities, especially for collaboration with different entities. I think when I started my journey with insurance, never in a million years did I think I would be on working groups or collaborating groups with government entities or NGOs,
Mhm.
and trying to find solutions together. Because I think primarily my work was very much straightforward.
Mhm.
Client comes to me, I write out the policy for them. They go, it's time for renewal. I speak to them again, but it provides a different space for collaboration with other entities. So it keeps your mind working. It keeps your mind looking for solutions based off of the different types of problems that come to your table every day. So yeah, microinsurance is definitely a great space to work in. Um, the it's very exciting. I would say the favorite part of my most favorite part of the job is going into the field and
Mhm.
meeting smallholder farmers, just getting to understand what issues they're facing and going back to be able to formulate solutions that actually work.
Mhm.
So I would encourage especially the young people who are looking to move into the insurance industry to make great consideration for this space
Okay.
so we can make magic together.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
thank you very much, Niza.
Yeah.
I appreciate it and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much, Mulenga. I appreciate you inviting me to this program.
Thank you.